Hi, I'm Walt Heyer from the United States. I want to say welcome to Bratislava Amush Festival. It's a pleasure to speak to you today about transgenderism and my life and experience, having lived 8 years as a female identifying as a transgender person. And so today we hope we can educate some people and find ways to understand this better, as it seems to be sweeping the entire world. But for me, this whole thing started when I was 4 years old. My grandmother decided that she was going to make me a purple chiffon dress. And so then that purple chiffon dress, she put me in that when I was 4 years old. And it became the little secret between my grandma and myself as she dressed me when I was over at her house. And she fawned over me, told me how cute I was, and that whole affirmation process about saying, wow, you look so cute. The problem with doing that to a young 4-year-old is you learn much later in life that putting a boy in a dress is actually child abuse. And it does a lot of very destructive things. It causes them emotional and psychological harm. And that's why we call it child abuse. So Grandma shouldn't have put me in the dress. She should have been affirming me as a boy and not trying to make me think there's something wrong with me as a boy, because that's exactly what happened. She made me think that there was something wrong with me, that I was better. I needed to be a girl to be good, to be accepted, and to be loved. And that was a big lie. But that starts something within young people when parents or siblings or anybody cross-dresses a boy or a girl in a different identity. You're doing harm to them. So that's something we should all be aware of. Don't do it. We should be affirming them just as they are. And so what transpired from that was the fact that I struggled for years wondering, why did Grandma do this? And as a result of that, you know, my dad, when he found out I'd been wearing this purple dress, Dad began to hit me with a hardwood floor plank as a disciplinary tool. I mean, he was frustrated with what Grandma had done. As you can imagine, any father who found out and discovered afterward that his mother-in-law had been cross-dressing his boy, they're going to be upset. And my dad was upset. Then my uncle, my dad's brother, who was a teenager at the time, he decided, because I'd been wearing a dress and I was only 8 years old at the time, that he felt that I should be, subject to be sexually molested. So in his sick mind, he began to molest me and tease me and taunt me and all those things that happen to children when they're young that begin to alter the way they think, feel, and behave about themselves. All those things that happened early in life cause permanent changes in a child's brain, and they're very destructive. And so, you know, I went all through life. I got married. I was never a homosexual individual. I got married, had children, and eventually in my late 30s, I went to one of those gender specialists, and the gender specialist said, wow, you know, you have gender dysphoria. And the treatment for gender dysphoria is you need to take hormones, you need to identify as a female and have surgery and live your life happily ever after as a female and leave your male gender behind, including all the body parts that they rearrange on you through surgery and fill you with hormones. So I did this, well over 35 years ago. And I lived 8 years as a female, identifying as a female. I really wasn't a female, because the truth is, and we should know this right now, no one in the history of mankind, no doctor, no surgeon, no anything has ever changed a man into a woman. It's not possible. And it's not possible to change a woman into a man. The only thing you can do is identify as a woman. You just can't become a woman. You can identify as a man, but you cannot become a man. It just doesn't happen. But when I eventually had the surgery and and did the hormones and lived this 8 years, I started studying psychology at the university. And I realized in looking at the books in psychology that people who identify as transgender actually have mental disorders. They suffer from bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, body dysmorphia, and many other disorders that the gender clinics never take into account or look at as something that should be addressed as far as treatment. They just provide the hormones and surgery. So when I discovered that, I realized that they had lied to me, that you can't change genders. Hormones and surgery is not good, effective treatment for what was done to me by my grandmother by putting me in a purple dress and confusing me about who I was. So I sought out the Lord Jesus Christ. I started going to church. I started getting a good Christian therapist, and I started working toward this relationship with Christ. And through this relationship with Christ, my identity began to change and reform so that I could identify in a way that honors and glorifies Jesus Christ. And that's what I'm doing today, because we don't honor and glorify Jesus Christ if we're not living the way God made us. And so I detransitioned back, fully aware that I'd made a huge mistake in trusting these gender clinics with my life, that the only person I can trust with my life is that of Jesus Christ. And the biblical truths are right before us. And so if we take our eyes off of Jesus when we're thinking about transgenderism and focus on gender dysphoria, we're going to lose our way. We're going to take a pathway that's going to harm our life. We need to keep our eyes on Jesus, focus on the biblical truths, and understand that no man has ever become a woman, no woman has ever become a man, and realize our identity is solid in Jesus Christ. And the only way in life that we can honor and glorify him is by following him and by identifying the way God made us. We're innate and fixed at birth, not at birth, excuse me. The one thing that they keep saying to us that's wrong, I want you to hear today. I want to clean that up. People who push this idea say that your gender and sex are assigned at birth. False. Your gender sex is fixed and unchangeable at the time of conception, 9 months prior to being born. That's the biblical truth. That's the biological truth. That's the truth that we need to live by. You need to live by. I'm living by it. I work with people today every single day. I've worked with thousands of people who found their way back to Jesus, restored their life. It's been redeemed. And now they love the life they live. They're not, shackled by this identity of transgenderism. So if you're struggling, understand that Jesus is there. Understand that something happened to you, and understand you cannot change who you are. You need to learn to accept who you are through the power and grace of Jesus Christ. So thank you for this opportunity. I love all of you out there. Thank you so much. Goodbye.